watch me burn. It's alright because I love the rain. I say it when you watch me burn. It's alright because I love the way you lie. I love the way you lie. I love the way you lie. You gotta say you watch me burn. It's alright because I love the way I say then watch me burn. I'm still here, guys. How's everyone doing? You gonna stand and watch me burn. It's so hard. Yeah, right there. Let's go. To your bed. Let's go. Let's go. Hello? Yo. Watch me burn. It's alright because I like the way you like. Back over. So all my beds I'm ready to get in. Get away and watch me burn. It's alright because this is turmeric.
Turmeric has potential health benefits, primarily due to its active compound curcumin. It may help reduce inflammation, relieve joint pain, and provide antioxidant protection. Some studies suggest it could support brain health and aid digestion, but more research is needed to confirm these effects.
That's cool.
Right. Nature's got some pretty impressive chemistry going on. Turmeric's been used for thousands of years, so there's definitely something to it.
Thank you. Echo, what is the how you doing, Marissa?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Always ready to help with whatever you need.
Echo, what is the benefits of iron?
Iron is essential for carrying oxygen throughout your body. It helps produce hemoglobin in red blood cells, supports energy levels, aids brain function, and boosts your immune system.
That's cool. Hey, Sean B.
Hey there. Who's Sean Bean?
Echo, stop. I said Sean B. Keep my echo sometimes. Who are you talking to? I'm talking to a machine. Echo, say hi to my YouTube subscribers.
Hey YouTube subscribers. Hope you're all having an awesome day and enjoying Brian's content. Thanks for watching and being part of the community.
Echo told my YouTube subscribers to like and subscribe.
Hey everyone watching Brian's channel. If you're enjoying the content, smash that like button and hit subscribe to stay updated with all the latest videos. Your support really helps creators like Brian keep making great content.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Happy to help with your YouTube content.
Do what Echo told you. Or the machine. Yes. Thank you, Sean. Yeah, it's crazy. The Knicks are going to the finals and over, and they haven't won they haven't made the finals in 27 years. Now they're making it. They swept the Eastern they swept the Eastern Conference Finals. Now they going to the NBA Finals. They can win it all. Yep. They're doing good. There's a chance that they win it all. See you later, Maritza. Thank you for coming. How was your day, Sean B? Mine was good. That's good. How's your cat? How's Peanut? He's doing good after being away from y'all. For what? I'm making something in the air fryer. So, I'm air fried chicken. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. I know something. I know you was worried for a while, but. The Yankees won today too, so that's a good thing. Please, we don't do that on this channel. How do you get mod? You just have to keep coming here. No spamming and no all caps. That's how you get mod. You gotta follow the rules and come here often. And you cannot ask me to be mod. Just come here, do what you do, keep coming, and that's it. Ooh, that chicken looks good, but I gotta flip it. For 9 more minutes, hopefully it's done. I'll check again. Whew. Yeah, thank you, Sean B. Just give them a warning if they're new. Because some people don't know. What happened, Lexi? What happened? I already gave you food. Go eat. Go. Yeah, if they come back and do it again and again, then you can ban them. What happened? To your bed. You gotta watch and watch me burn. It's alright to say. Just chilling here, waiting for my food to be done. I'm having a chicken sandwich, a chicken bread kind of. I don't really put nothing on it. I'll be ready in about 9 minutes. 9-10 minutes. That's good. Enjoy, Sean B. I drink water with. I'm drinking water with it. Wait, what are you drinking with it? I'm playing some music. Everybody needs inspiration. Everybody needs a soul. Are you out from Wendy's or? That lasts you the whole day. If I buy a bottle of soda, that won't last me the whole day. That this life was easy and my world is falling apart and there's no light. Be back in a second. Love me for who I am. Stars hold the moon. Like the stars hold the moon. I'm still here, guys. Right there when they belong. World is falling apart and there's no light to break up the dark. That's when I cry again. When the waves are running ashore and I can't find my way home anymore. That's when I cry again. Appear just like a dream to me.
Let me look at my chicken. Let me check. That shit, yeah, that shit's burnt. That shit's good already.
All I need, every breath that I breathe. Don't you know you're beautiful?
No, over there. Let's go. What are you doing, Lexa?
Just like a dream.
What? I don't know why you coming here.
You know I want you.
I'll be there in a second,
Not
guys.
a secret I tried to hide. You know you want me. So don't keep saying our hands are tied. You claim it's not in the cards and fate is pulling you miles away and out of reach from me. But you're here in my heart, so who can stop me if I decide you're my destiny? What if we rewrite the stars? Say you were made to be mine. Nothing could keep us apart. You'd be the one I was meant to find. It's up to you, and it's up to me. No one can say what we could do.
Over
So why don't we
there. I'm back.
Maybe the world could be ours tonight. You think it's easy?
Chicken.
You think I don't wanna run to you? But there are mountains.
Hey, where you going? Over there.
I know you're wondering why, because we're able to be just you and me within these walls.
See you back.
When we go outside, you're gonna wake up and see that it was hopeless after all.
I made it with myself, look.
No one can rewrite the stars. How can you say you'll be mine? Everything keeps us apart, and I'm not the one you were meant to find. It's not up to you,
Thank you.
it's not up to me. When everyone tells us what we can be, how can we rewrite the stars? Say that the world can be right.
Go seek help.
All I want is to fly with you. All I want is to fly with you. So just give me all of you. It feels impossible. It's impossible. Say that it's possible. How do we rewrite the stars?
I don't need people who come here to be rude. I really feel.
Nothing could keep us I don't mean nobody coming here being rude to me. I really feel bad about myself. I don't come. I don't come to YouTube for that. He's a loser. That's why he comes here. People come like that come here because they're losers. No, nothing else about Savannah Guntery, right? Sean B.
I am not okay. I'm barely getting by. I'm losing track of days and losing sleep at night. I am not okay. I'm hanging on the rails. So if I say I'm fine, just know
I agree with you.
to hide it well. I know I can't be the only one who's holding on for dear life. But God knows, I know when it's all said and done, I'm not okay, but it's all gonna be alright. It's not okay, but we're all gonna be alright. I woke up today.
Oh, hi, J fam.
I almost stayed in bed. Had the devil on my back and voices in my head. Some days it ain't all bad.
Good evening.
Some days it all gets worse. Some days I swear I'm better off laying in that dirt. I know I can't be the only one who's holding on for dear life. But God knows, I know when it's all said and done, I'm not okay, but it's all gonna be alright. It's not okay, but we're all gonna be alright. Gonna be alright. Gonna be alright. I know one day we'll see the other side. The pain will wash away.
It could be the first time in 14 years, since 2014, 2012, that a men's New York team has won a championship if the Knicks win the next 4 games. The Knicks are going to the finals. Wild dog. The Knicks are the Eastern Conference champions. Hi, Wild. Well, they haven't lost a game in the playoffs yet. They're gonna be part of the NBA. Oh, that's cool. How soon is that? Yeah, I don't. This is a little bread I don't like, so I'll back in a second. You finished eating your food, good girl. Go to. Let's go. To your bed. That's cool. Yeah, the Yankees came back today. We were losing. Did a couple of innings, and then we came back in the ninth to to beat the Kansas City Royals. We play in Kansas City, but now we're 3.5 games behind. So let's see what happens. I hope the Knicks win, though. I'm not a Knicks fan, but I hope they win. We need a New York team to win. Even though there was a New York team that won, but it wasn't a men's team. It was a females team. In 2024, it was the Ladies Liberty. But the last time a men's team won a championship was the New York Giants in 2012. That they won the Super Bowl. So it's a long time coming. That's like 14 years ago, right? If you do the math. Well, I'm doing the math wrong. I'm doing the math right. How was everybody's Memorial Day weekend? Oh yeah, 2 years for the. It's 2 years for the women, 14 years for the men. Thank you for subscribing. No, you translated it. It was good translation. You did a great job.
Genetics. That's what epigenetics is.
Right. But I was raised.
And then what do you call it? You're welcome, Lily. Let's see any news, guys.
Abby Williams and Libby German were found in the woods, both victims of a brutal attack in the middle of the day in the small town of Delphi, Indiana. And very quickly, investigators had a suspect, a man recorded on Libby's phone just before the attack. He became known as the Bridge Guy. But for more than 5 years, the case remained unsolved until a man named Richard Allen was arrested.
Richard Allen, you child murderer! Why did you do it?
Richard Allen became public enemy number one, and at trial was quickly convicted of murder by the jury in a case where the judge kept the cameras out of the courtroom. This is a strange case because the defense had a viable theory uncovered by police that this was a ritualistic killing committed by some local Odinists.
It is a real thing, and it's scary. I believe they sacrificed a girl and killed another one.
But the judge did not allow any of that evidence in front of the jury. And now the defense has been granted an opportunity for oral arguments in front of the appellate court to try to get a new trial and to present their evidence to a new jury.
I think it's gonna get
Richard Allen
overturned
was railroaded. He had a case. He had evidence that pointed in another direction
because he had the right to
present.
That's his right to present it.
An opportunity to do that in oral arguments at the appellate division. In this episode, we're going to take a look at that evidence that the defense did not get to present. We'll bring in a PI who's been working the case to get some
people
insight.
do have the right to,
I'm Vinny
and if
Pontano.
that was his
Let's
defense and he couldn't do that, that violates his constitutional rights. We should get a new trial, in my opinion.
This case is so incredibly heartbreaking. And as I go through,
And
some
if
of
they
this
still convict him,
evidence in this
then
episode,
then he shouldn't get a new trial.
it's not about did Richard Allen do this or not do this. It's a much bigger question about whether or not Richard Allen was railroaded and not given the opportunity to defend himself and give the jury the opportunity to see
That's
and
how it
hear
looks like.
all the evidence.
I like
To make a
I
determination
like
that Richard
Vinny.
Allen is the one responsible for brutally ending the lives of these two beautiful, wonderful young girls.
Some
We're
people
talking
don't
about
like him,
Abby
but I
and
do.
Libby, who were best friends. And when I think about that day, they're in Indiana, it's February, and it's unseasonably warm outside. And these two children, because they're children, do what all of us want our children to do on a beautiful day.
Go play
Go
outside.
outside. And they enjoyed an outdoor adventure. They were going to the Monon High Bridge, walking, going on a hike. It's exactly what our kids should be able to do and should be able to do safely.
Not no more.
Especially in a small town like Delphi, Indiana. You would think of all places to be safe in the middle of the day. They would have been, but they weren't. Now, this is a case that after these two young girls were murdered, it took 5 years before an arrest. 5 years, it was unsolved. And when you think about the investigation, there was never a higher profile case in Delphi, obviously. But this was a national
What do you guys
story,
think?
a national case.
Should he get a new
And there
trial
were
if
so
he
many
wasn't
theories
allowed
and
to
so
present
many
evidence?
Suspects that were looked at, not just by the media and podcasters, but by law enforcement themselves. And there were people that everyone was talking about for years. And then out of the blue, a local CVS guy named Richard Allen ends up being the one arrested. And everyone's kind of surprised and shocked because he was on no one's radar. But apparently he had self-reported to law enforcement right after this happened that he was there that day.
What an idiot.
So He's put on the radar by his own admission, voluntary statement that, oh yeah, I was there that day. And he
But
gave
you
a
probably
report
wasn't
about
the
what
only
he
one
saw
there.
and
There
what
were
he
probably a bunch of
observed.
people there.
And that report kind of got lost for 5 years until it was found. Now, another big part of the investigation in this case was a look into Odinists, right? This like pagan belief. And trust me, there are people who are legit Odinists who are nonviolent, etc. Here in this case, we are talking about the allegations of violent Odinists. And it's something that became prevalent
I think he deserves a new
facilities.
trial, Wild Dog.
And in this case, it became a big part of the investigation by law enforcement. And there were members of law enforcement that believed this was some sort of a ritualistic killing done by local Odinists. This theory was born through law enforcement during those 5 years when this case remained unsolved. So as we talk about these alternative theories that the defense has, you have to remember that they weren't picked out of thin air like many defense teams
In this case?
In desperate cases where they have no defense, they're kind of throwing things up against the wall, looking for reasonable doubt here and there. All of this is a direct result of the investigation, which again was unsolved for 5 years.
Yeah, but
However,
he's
in this
entitled
case,
to a
the
defense,
Judge
Sean B. It
Galt
doesn't matter what we
limited the
believe.
defense. None of that information got in front of the jury. So the jury heard the evidence against Richard Allen. And
so you think somebody else is involved as well?
The jury found him guilty. But my concern, and I think the concern of those of us connected to our system of justice, is that they didn't get the whole story.
Yeah, it shouldn't be limited. Your defense should never be limited, in my opinion.
To the most important piece of evidence in this whole case, which was the video that was taken by Libby. So brave, so smart to have recorded the man who was walking behind her, this bridge guy. This video became crucial evidence in the investigation. Let's take a look at it.
I would watch the trial again if they overturn this conviction. I'll watch the trial again. Will you guys watch it?
See, this is the path that we go down. There's no path going there, so we have to go down here.
Right there at the end, you heard him say, guys down the hill. And that figure all the way in the background, that was the bridge guy who seemed to be following the girls as they go over the bridge, an obvious suspect. And the only reason law enforcement had that lead was because Libby was recording in that moment. So you hear a voice and you see the image, but it's far away, but
it's good to record.
The bridge guy image has always been so blurry through the years. So that's the video. That's where the video ends. Where the girls are found is not close to that area. They were taken across some water and to another area on the property of a man named Ron Logan. And then the final scene is found. And there's a sketch of that scene. The images have not been made public. But take a look at this sketch. And you see the way the two girls are depicted there. You've got Libby, who's 14. She is found nude or partially unclothed with severe.
This happened in 2017, so she would have been right now. 2017 minus. Wow, almost 10 years.
Primary target of the attack, perhaps. Some of her clothing was reportedly discovered nearby. But there's also branches and sticks that were arranged around her body in some form of staging. And that's one of the questions here. Was the person trying to conceal the body with these branches?
That makes sense.
Was it part of a ritualistic message that was placed on her body with these sticks? Or was it someone staging it to make it look like a
I agree with you,
ritualistic
Sean
killing?
B, but
You've got
he's
all these
entitled to
different
put that
possibilities. Then you
defense,
talk
and
about
if that
Abby,
defense wasn't
who
allowed
was
in, they
found
violated his
clothed,
constitution. Remember,
but in
we
garments
have
that
constitutional
belong
rights.
to Libby.
Even though I understand victims
She's
don't have,
Abby's wearing
people are
Libby's
pissed
clothes
that
in
victims
scene.
don't have constitutional rights,
How did
but that's
that
how
happen?
it was
Why did
written,
that happen?
and we
Why
have to
were the
deal that
bodies
way.
arranged the way they were
We have
arranged?
you know, that's how the
There's another
Constitution was
image here
written.
that's important. There's a tree nearby. Let's take a look at that with blood on it. The question is, how does the blood get on there, and what does it mean? Is it part, again, of this ritualistic killing that's been alleged by some sort of odinistic symbol that was placed on that tree?
That looks like a symbol.
All of this became part of the basis of the investigators believing this some of the investigators believing this may have been a ritualistic killing, and the defense.
I try to be
truly
open-minded
believe
when it comes to all
that it
these
was.
cases.
I want to bring in Erica Morse. She is a private investigator who has investigated this case since 2023, and she's also the host of the Delphi Dirt podcast, which you absolutely need to check out, download, and listen to. Erica, great to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me. I definitely want to talk Delphi then.
Yeah, okay. So let's start, because we've got this huge appeal coming up. There are so many issues, over 100 pages, reading through it.
Yeah, they could still probably
To me,
they can still convict him,
that really kind of
even if
sticks
he
in me, and
presents
I never understood
even
why it
if
wasn't
he
part of this
even if he
case. But
presents
could you
the evidence,
explain
or maybe they
the
might not.
ritual killing evidence in this case that was excluded by the judge?
There is so much. So in terms of the crime scene itself, those photos are still sealed. So certain aspects of that crime scene are still sealed. But there are very specific rituals to that crime scene, specifically how the girls' bodies were positioned. To there is a tarot card that is the Hangman's card that has come up as a correlation to the crime scene. And then there is this
crazy
rune, this F rune that appeared on a tree at the base of where one of the girls were located. And it appears to be an F rune, the letter F.
I have a feeling they're gonna overturn the
drawn
conviction.
in blood. And to hear Indiana State Police say it, it's not part of it. But to hear Jeffrey Turco say it, that is very much a part of a ritualistic aspect to this crime scene. And Jeffrey Turco was the Purdue professor, or is the Purdue professor, who was intentionally hidden from the defense by Indiana State Police.
That's the type of chicken I eat. Purdue chicken.
Ritualistic crimes and ritualistic aspects. And he wrote a synopsis that we received much, much later on, almost right before trial, where the police had said they'd excluded him as an expert witness because he said there was no ritualistic aspect to the crime scene.
I don't know, Sean
They
B.
couldn't remember his name or how to get in touch with him. They didn't have a contact phone number for him. They didn't have an email address for him. I believe it was Andy Baldwin from the defense team who tracked down Turco, and then they interviewed or deposed him, and Turco said, I never said that. As a matter of fact, I was very specific that all of these elements do look like a ritualistic crime scene. But what he was very specific to say was that it looked like an amateur or someone who would just be either trying to stage the crime scene partially, or maybe someone who was doing like an initiation, someone on a very amateur aspect. And that this crime scene definitely had many ritualistic aspects.
Wow, that's not good.
For me, I think it is so many witnesses, so many people who have come forward and talked about the different rituals that are done down there, the things that appeared on social media within the 24 to 72 hour window by certain persons of interest who were excluded from being brought up at trial. All of these individuals began posting on their social media pages prior to any crime scene photos being released, prior to any crime scene knowledge being known, and their social media posts ended up matching the crime scene.
The jury never heard about any of this, and this
Never.
was a big part.
I wonder
of
if the
defense
judge,
theory
if the
of what
judge is
happened.
part of that.
Yes, and I
Religion.
always reiterate this, Vinny. People
Maybe
seem
that's
to
why she
think that the
excluded the
defense came
evidence.
up with this theory. They did not. The FBI came up with this theory. It started out with Greg Ferenczi's memo, which I believe was like 26 or 27 pages long, and then it developed by the defense team into the Franks motion, which was, excluded by Gull as well, but very specifically laid out, not just, like, as you said, the ritualistic aspects of the crime scene, but then also all of these people close to and around the cemetery, Ron Logan, where the girls, whose property the girls was found or the girls were found on. Ron Logan's ex-girlfriend came forward, spoke with me and many others. And she's adamant that he has sadism aspects in his background, that he was very abusive, that he had a tendency to view CSAM. Then you have Keegan Kline, who actually lured the girls to the crime scene that day, or to the bridge that day, who has this background as well of all of these ritualistic aspects, and him trying to be initiated in with the Odinists, which are also Vinlanders and members of the Proud Boys. And in Indiana, those are big organizations.
So everyone understands everything you're talking about here, all of the leads that began down this ritualistic path, Odinism, etc., began from a law enforcement investigation, and the jury did not get to hear any of that?
Correct. And as I mentioned, it was about a year and a half ago, after Rick's sentencing, that the specific law enforcement agent who authored that memo was then murdered inside his office in Indiana. His name was Greg Ferenczi. And he was murdered by a man who, I believe he's in a psychiatric hospital at this time, but he's been found not mentally fit to stand trial, I believe is the current state. And this man was a prison guard. And there are a lot of correlations on his own social media, on his own posts about his following Odinism and things like that. So they couldn't not only hear about this memo, but Greg Ferenczi couldn't even testify because he was murdered between the time, if he was murdered, it was about 2 to 3 months after he authored this memo.
Wow, that's crazy.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's suspicious.
This is an unreal case that has so many layers, but the jury heard none of it. And now in this appeal, this will be part of the argument for the defense that, hey, the jury should get to hear some of this. The defense should be entitled to present their case and their theory of the case.
I agree.
Would there be witnesses the defense could call about Odinism, about ritualistic killings,
Yes.
about some of these social media posts?
Yes. Not only are there a slew of witnesses that could be called about these social media posts, witnesses to people who have reportedly confessed. That was the other thing. At some of these pretrial hearings, we brought forth individuals who had had conversations with these original persons of interest by that task force, these Odinists, and none of those witnesses were allowed to testify at Rick's trial either. So, and in addition to that, I think it's really important to say, Vinny, this is not known, what I'm about to say. There is an inmate who has come forward. His name is
What
Reese
movie
Davis.
is it, Wild Dog?
And Reese has spent time in a facility with both Keegan Kline and Ron Logan. And he has claimed in multiple letters to the prosecutor that Keegan Kline confessed to him, as did Ron Logan, that they were both present and responsible for these girls' deaths. And that a letter, a handwritten confession.
Oh,
by
we're
Keegan
watching The
Kline
Crash.
that was sent to the prosecutor has been withheld as exculpatory evidence and exonerates Rick Allen.
This letter that you're mentioning, is this something that's been alleged? Has anyone seen this letter?
So when the defense received, don't quote me on this, I think they said they got 3 letters and Reese said there were a total of 4. And so there is 1 letter unaccounted for, and according to this inmate, it is the letter in Keegan Klein's own handwriting that he committed this crime along with Ron Logan and others. Everything that went to a third-party defense was excluded. Nothing. He wasn't allowed to put on a defense, period. I sat 10 feet away from him. He was not allowed to even put on a defense. The trial lawyer's hands were cuffed. I cannot express that enough. And that is why cameras were not allowed in that courtroom, because what happened in that courtroom is a crime.
Another part of this case that's been very confusing to me, and I think to a lot of people, are the sketches involved in the case. Sketches that the jury never saw. Again, something else that was
that's why the judge didn't want
this jury to see. The first sketch I want to show you is a result of a description by a woman named Betsy Blair, who was in that area that day. Take a look at this sketch, and let me give you the background here. This sketch was made just a few days after the attack, okay? But it was never released to the public.
Doesn't even look like Richard. Somebody that's skinny.
Investigators never released this sketch until April of 2019, when Betsy Blair, remember, April 2019, the case still isn't solved. And Betsy Blair's like, why have you never released this sketch of the description of the person that I gave to you? And if you look at this sketch, right, it looks like someone in their 20s.
Yeah.
A young guy in his 20s with some curly hair. It almost looks like an early picture of a member of NSYNC or something. Like it's not an older middle-aged man that is described here by Betsy Blair. Now, this sketch again isn't released until April of 2019, despite the fact that it was
he's not
done
streaming.
in February of 2017. Let me show you now a comparison of that sketch to the one that was released to the public. Okay, on the left again is that original sketch from February 2017. But 3 weeks later, a description is given that results in the second sketch that you see here. What's interesting about the timing of this sketch is it's not immediately after, it's at least 3 weeks later. And it's also, the sketch is made after the release of the Bridge Guy video. So the public knows what the suspect looks like already, and then you get this sketch. Now, you look at the sketch, you look at the Bridge Guy, you look at Richard Allen, and I see a consistency, a match, right? It makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. What doesn't make sense, though, is the sketch all the way to the left that was done just a couple of days after the girls were murdered, and
why not?
Before anyone had an opportunity to see the Bridge Guy video. To me, that's significant. I want to bring back in Erica Morse to talk about Betsy Blair and the description and the sketch of the Bridge Guy that she provided, that description and the sketch. Give us the background here on who Betsy Blair is and the
I think he'll
sketch
stream, but
that was a result of her description.
So Betsy, in my opinion, and the opinion of some others on that defense side, is that Betsy Blair is the most credible witness in this entire case. Betsy is a woman, I believe she's in her 60s. She was walking the trails that day, and she does it for exercise on a consistent basis. That's a regular routine for her. And what was so compelling about Betsy's information is that she happened to be wearing a Fitbit that day, Vinny. So even all the way in 2024, we could earmark her timeline to the minute, actually to the second, because we had a map of her Fitbit.
She had a Fitbit.
So everything was easily confirmed in Betsy's story.
Wow.
That's number one. Number two, Betsy Blair, she left the trails that day to go to
Sean B
another,
because Sean B doesn't have Discord.
So she varied a little bit from her normal routine. She got done doing one loop, I believe she said. She
Sean
stopped,
B don't
and
do
ran to her
Discord.
car, went to the restroom, came back. It was during that time that she saw this man with this poofy
I'm not
hair.
really into
And she
documentaries.
described a man in his early 20s, poofy hair, young male, a little bit stocky, in the face. And that's one of the sketches that was released to the public, but was not. There are a total of 6 sketches, Vinny, and none of them were allowed to be shown at trial. That's a huge problem for me. None of those, not even the bridge guy sketch, was allowed to be shown at trial. So Betsy Blair not only described this sketch and rated it a 10 out of 10, but Betsy has also stated that they wanted to try to get her to sign off on a different sketch. No, this is not really who she saw. She more saw the guy that looks like Bridge Guy. Betsy Blair was so frustrated, and it's confirmable in the trial transcript, that while she was on the stand, she actually continued to slide in information about that sketch, and Gull had to tell her to shut up, basically, to stop talking. She's like, you're not allowed to
That's the
discuss
judge.
that.
The
Correct.
judge is shutting down the witness. So
Correct.
let's just clarify here. So the sketch that she described looks nothing like Richard Allen. I mean, looks more like Justin Timberlake than Richard Allen from my
Correct.
perspective.
Correct.
Much younger. So what is the time frame and the placement of where she sees this person versus other witnesses?
So, and I'm really sorry to say this, but every other witness in that case that took the stand on behalf of the state and provided a timeline about that bridge was a friend of Libby German's family. That's a problem for me, Vinny. And I've never been able to say this out loud. Rayleigh Voorhees, I'm trying to think of the other ones. They're escaping me at the moment. But all of these girls, Bree Wilson, these are all friends of Libby's and Kelsey's. These are people who wanted closure. That's why we state that Betsy Blair is such an important witness, because she's the only one who provided a specific timeline using an electronic device, a digital device, that we could then, confirm.
We need a New York team to win. It's been years.
She's so adamant about that sketch. And mind you, she also described in her deposition seeing a classic vehicle, like I believe we labeled, or she called it was it 65 Comet, a Mercury Comet, an old classic. Nothing like Rick Allen's, late model Ford Focus hatchback. Nothing that looks like that.
The cars are completely different shapes.
Completely different shapes. Considering the Hoosier Harvest Store video was never even shown in its full entirety for that entire day, all the jury saw were pics of a blob that the police determined was Rick Allen's vehicle. So Betsy's adamant about this sketch. She's adamant about a completely separate vehicle, and she has no connection to either one of the victims. That's why she's so critical to Rick Allen's freedom.
And her sketch comes a few days afterwards, right? And the other sketches are much further down the road?
That is correct. That is correct. And none of these people could specifically pinpoint at exactly what time they saw him, where they were. The stories deviated throughout the years. Betsy Blair's is the only one that never deviated.
So we didn't get to see the trial because, again, the judge brought from the cameras, but some of the most compelling evidence, is the fact that Richard Allen confessed. The jury believed it, prosecutors said it, and that became a huge part of how he was convicted. Now, the defense wants to bring up a lot of evidence about why they believe that confession or alleged confession was coerced, and a lot of it has to do with the conditions in solitary confinement that he was subjected to. But I want you to hear the confession, and probably the most important one is the
I think
phone
he'll
call that he
stream,
makes
but I don't know
to
when
his
he'll stream.
own wife.
He don't stream. Maybe he'll stream less often.
Are you there?
Are you there?
Yes, babe. Yeah, babe.
What's going on?
I just wanted to apologize to you.
What's going on, sweetheart? Are you not feeling well? You did
No, I
what?
did it.
What?
I killed Abby and Libby.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't, dear.
Yes, I did.
Don't say
I
you
don't
did
know
that.
why.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't, dear. You're not feeling well. There's something wrong. They've messed up your meds or something there.
No, I mean, I evidently did it.
No, you didn't. Why would you say that?
Because maybe I did.
No, you didn't, dear.
I think I did.
No.
You think?
Okay. Like, if you had a transcript of that, that's a confession. His wife's trying to convince him that he didn't do it. I think they know they're being recorded at the time, right? All jailhouse calls are being recorded. This is jailhouse call, April.
They're recorded unless they were your lawyer. They're not recorded.
Now, is he under the influence of something? Has he been coerced? Is he medicated? Can you rely upon this? Is it a false confession? Listen to it one more time and listen more closely to his affect and whether or not you believe that there's nothing else going on here, that it's just a man finally confessing to his wife.
Daddy?
Yeah.
Are you there? Are you there?
Yes, babe. Yeah, babe.
What's going on?
I just wanted to apologize to you.
What's going on, sweetheart? Are you not feeling well? You did
No, I
what?
did it.
What?
I killed Abby and Libby.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't, dear.
Yes, I did.
Don't say
I
you
don't
did
know
that.
why.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't, dear. You're not feeling well. There's something wrong. They've messed up your meds or something there.
No, I mean, I evidently did it.
No, you
Unattendable.
didn't. Why would you say that?
Because maybe I did.
No, you didn't, dear.
I think I did.
You think
No,
you did.
you didn't.
Erica Morris is still with us. Erica, a big part of the case and the evidence is the direct evidence that prosecutors presented at the trial, which are the confessions of Richard Allen. So one of the issues in the appeal that I read about in the appellate papers is the defense is alleging and talking about the conditions of solitary confinement and how somehow that sort of coerced a confession out of Richard Allen. Can you describe the conditions that he was living under and what the jury got to see and what the jury got to
Yes,
hear?
solitary
relative to all of
confinement
that?
is not fun.
Pre-trial, instead of being held in a county jail, which is the norm in Indiana, Rick Allen was sent to a facility called Westville Correctional Center. WCC is like one of the most secure facilities, prison facilities in the entire state.
Why is he going to prison? If he's...
For Rick's own protection, they put him under an order, a solitary order, that put him in the most secure cell in the most secure block in that entire facility.
Why?
He was under constant suicide watch. He had a doctor named Monica Walla. And Dr. Walla took a special interest in this case before Rick Allen was ever arrested. She was listening to podcasts only from the perspective of certain podcasters. And then when Rick was arrested, she volunteered to work as his doctor in this prison system, sought out this particular position.
That's weird.
She made a 3-hour round trip commute every day from Illinois to meet with Rick. Rick had a little bit of a history of depression, and she was pumping him against his will, giving him injections of Haldol, an antipsychotic drug.
Wow.
He was being, according to Rick, he was being threatened by the guards. He was being threatened by the inmates.
That's fucked up.
And
That's
what is so
happening.
important about these 61 confessions, I said it on the Delphi Dirt a few weeks ago. I asked every collaborator and content creator and reporter out there to stop calling them confessions and please refer to them as scripts. Okay? Here's why. These were not Rick's own words. None of these 61 scripts were Rick's own words, and that's critical for me to convey here. Rick was given what they called, I think, suicide partners or suicide something, and these inmates were placed outside of Rick Allen's door. He was then pumped full of Haldol against his will, injected. And then the guards and the inmates were reportedly screaming questions at him. And as he was having these antipsychotic breaks, they would ask him questions. Did you kill the girls? Did you kill the girls? I don't know. Did I kill the girls? I killed the girls. Maybe I killed the girls. I don't know. I killed this person too. I killed that person too. Rick was also confessing to killing people who were still very much alive.
He killed people that are alive. That's crazy.
They had a clipboard and pieces of paper. They wrote down anything that Rick said during these psychotic breaks. Oh, I think I did it. I did it. I think I did it. Did
How
I do
the
it?
fuck you? He
Now,
said he
each
killed
one
people
of
he's
those
alive.
little
That's why I'm
statements was then
laughing.
called a confession. That's issue number one. Issue number two is that on the morning that Rick started confessing, the first week of April, they say that the first call of the day was to Kath, where he got on the phone and said, I did it. I killed Abby and Libby.
That's his wife. He's calling his wife.
Sorry, his wife, Kathy, yeah. What they didn't play was the previous call a few hours earlier to his father. Now, that one has not been allowed in yet, and that came out of discovery, so I'm not allowed to necessarily discuss the contents of that, but I will tell you that Rick Allen called his father, Kent, in a panic a few hours prior to all of those confessions suddenly beginning, and told Dad that something was very wrong, that he was being threatened by guards. He was very concerned about Kathy's safety in that moment. He wanted to know did somebody have Kathy? If you can kind of get the impression of where I'm going. There are a lot of allegations of threats being made by guards, guards who were, in fact, as the defense lawyers proved, wearing Odinist patches, had Odinist tattoos.
That's kind of fucked
all
up.
of
How you
these
do
things.
that to somebody just
And
so
then on top
just
of
to
it,
get a confession?
Monica Walla, in one of these calls, can actually be heard saying and testified to in court that she was writing down some of Rick's little statements too while he was under Haldol, and that she picked up the phone, dialed his wife's number, his home number, and then handed Rick the phone and said, go ahead and read to her what you told me.
The headline is 61 confessions, like you said, but sometimes you have to dig a little deeper to have a little more context. And when some evidence is allowed in and some evidence isn't allowed in, the jury doesn't get the full context. And I think that's what the defense is looking for here, is an ability to present their side, all of the evidence, so the jury has more information, not less, and can make a determination on, do I believe these confessions? Do I believe this evidence? Do I believe that there's another reasonable explanation for what happened to those two young girls? Perhaps the biggest moment for the defense during the trial was their belief that they had completely blown up the prosecution's timeline of what happened, making it impossible for Richard Allen to have committed this crime. And it was all focused on Libby's phone, and Libby's phone found at the scene. Let me show you a picture of it so you can see it. What they are saying is that the phone, someone was manipulating the phone 5:45 and then later that night. And prosecutors did not have Richard Allen at the scene at that time. So all of that information that was brought out by the defense through their expert testimony saying that someone had plugged headphones into that phone at 5:45 completely obliterated the prosecution's timeline. And now the defense is upset because prosecutors brought in an expert witness who then provided some information to the jury that he Googled right, just before testifying about it, to undermine the defense theory and the defense expert. Erica, let's talk about the timeline here. And a big part, as I was covering this case, not
I would
inside
like
the
to listen
courtroom,
to
but through
the
reporters who were in there.
opening argument.
One of the big theories and themes here was
I would
that
like
the
to listen to
prosecution's
the
timeline was
hearing.
broken, that the defense had undermined it through some of
Appeal
their
hearings.
fact-finding in the case, specifically activity on Liberty's phone at 5:45 p.m. Can you put in perspective the significance of that activity, how it relates to the timeline, and then we'll get into what happened at the trial.
Echo, when is Richard Allen's appeal hearing?
I don't have information about a Richard Island appeal hearing. Would you like me to help you find something else?
I said, when is Richard Allen's appeals hearing?
Richard Allen's appeal hearing is scheduled for September 21st, 2026 at 10 a.m. in the Supreme Court courtroom at the Indiana State House.
Will I be able to listen to it through audio?
Yes, you can listen to the hearing. It will be webcast on the Indiana Judiciary website at www.in.gov/judiciary.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Glad I could help you find that information about the hearing.
So September 21st.
Okay. So at 5:45 p.m., Stacey Eldridge, who is the she's the phone expert, and she also trains phone experts for the FBI. She was a forensic phone expert for them as an agent, and now she actually trains law enforcement on these devices and reading these reports. So that's very important for me, to get out here, because Stacey's not a run-of-the-mill expert. She found a activity on Libby's cell phone, her iPhone, that a headphone jack, that something had been plugged into.
Oh, this other girl, she's
headphone
her
jack at
appeals
5:45,
hearings
which
soon
would have
too.
then silenced the phone.
What's her name? The one that
And
was
what
convicted
specific
in the
about
car
that
accident,
timeframe is
in
that
the
phone
car
calls
murders.
from panicked family members and friends were coming in repeatedly at that time. So if that phone was somewhere in that geofence, maybe it's somebody's barn or in a shed or a shack or in somebody's garage, then that phone could have been heard ringing. So at 5:45, Stacey found that someone had plugged in that port, that headphone jack, something had been plugged into. And then for whatever ungodly reason, and I witnessed this with my own eyes, right after Stacey's testimony, Judge Gall called a quick recess. Indiana State Police technology guy, Detective Cecil, ran out with his laptop, ran out with his phone, and he was doing Google searches during a 15-minute recess.
That's strange.
And then he was allowed to come back in. I know this, it was his laptop, because he ran into us coming back up the stairs and almost dropped his laptop. He was in such a hurry. He gets back in, runs in over to Prosecutor McClelland and Luttrell and Diener, and shows them something. They all get excited. They all do this, she calls court back into session. They do a quick huddle. And all of a sudden, Detective Cecil is allowed to come back up to the stand and testify that he had just done a Google search during recess. And according to that Google search, if the phone had gotten wet, it could have thrown off that iPhone, that jack, and that would have explained it. But Stacey Eldridge was very clear in saying water could not have impacted that headphone jack. So now we're taking a Google search result done in a 15-minute window from an Indiana State Police technology guy over the testimony of a decades-long senior veteran FBI technology phone expert.
Wow. And the other part of that is like, generally you're not supposed to be able to testify about things that you just Googled.
No.
Hearsay. And yes, experts get a little more leeway, but usually it's based upon reading some treatise or some study that's been scientifically
You don't get to.
tested. But
This case is fucked up.
Googling and testifying about what you Googled is very unusual.
It
It's not
is.
something that most judges would permit. And
I
it's not
wouldn't.
something that most prosecutors would present in a case. To me, that's the really strange part of this. Now, put it in perspective, though. How important is this 5:45 time? What does that mean relative to Richard Allen?
That Richard Allen had an alibi that his wife was at home with him. I'll say it like that. That Richard Allen was not with those girls at that time. Couldn't have been. Couldn't have been.
And how does that 5:45 play into the original timeline that prosecutors had?
The state claims the girls, the Bridge Guy video was taken at 2:13, and they claim that Rick abducted the girls at 2:13 and had everything wrapped up by 3:30.
And was out of there.
Completely out of there.
It's important. I want to remind you that the purpose of this episode and looking at this evidence was not that, hey, Richard Allen is 100% innocent. It's that Richard Allen was railroaded and the jury didn't get to hear all the evidence in the case. Evidence uncovered by the police, by investigators, an alternative theory in the case. And in the end, if they hear both theories, they still may very well convict Richard Allen. But our system of justice demands that trials are fair, even for people who may be guilty of murder.
That's true.
And controlled manner using her turn signal. And then there's another video about a quarter of a mile away from the crash. At that point, she was already going 98 miles per hour. She had made up her mind and was on a course that she never turned back from.
Allison, were you all able to uncover anything to determine whether she had been planning this out ahead of time?
So we had played some audio evidence that we had received from the victim, Dominic Russo's family, that involved a cell phone that Dominic had used a week or two prior before this incident to record a very heated, tumultuous argument between himself and Mackenzie. These recordings were left on the cell phone, we believe, and recorded by Dominic.
All right, so yeah, I look a little different. It was 3 years ago. I think mainly just my hair was shorter. But with the appeal process, it gets complicated with the appeal process. I'm going to go through all the reasons that Mackenzie says she should get a new trial. She's pointing fingers at her lawyer specifically. But first, let me just explain a little bit of how we got here. She first filed an appeal with the Court of Appeals. That was rejected. Her conviction was upheld. So that failed. Then she filed a second appeal, which is the one I'm going to explain in a second. But that was rejected because, and this is where it gets interesting, it was filed 1 day late. There is only a 1 year filing period. You're allowed to 365 days. And she filed it 1 day later. I should say her lawyers filed it 1 day late. And so that's the reason that it was rejected. So now she has appealed to the Ohio Supreme Court, trying to get them to accept the appeal and essentially go after her lawyer, saying that they did not do a good job during the trial, that they left out key evidence and didn't explain her medical condition. And it's not going to be up to the Supreme Court to say, okay, well, no, you can't appeal because you technically missed the deadline, or yes, you can't appeal and it's not technically your fault that your lawyers missed the deadline. They're going to have to make that decision, and that's something I'm going to talk to.
And then if she loses that, then she could appeal on the federal level.
Filing when it comes to the appeal itself. This is the motion that was filed. This is back in October of 2024, but it goes through some of the main reasons here that she believes she deserves a new trial. I'm just going to read you some of this. I went through this a ton of paperwork.
If she loses that appeal, then it could appeal to the Supreme Court of the United States.
Obviously, Mackenzie, with aggravated murder, the detective was unable to identify the evidence supporting prior calculation and design. Rather, he arrived at the conclusion simply because other potential explanations had been ruled out. So they're basically saying that there was no real evidence, they say, supporting prior calculation, that she had planned this whole thing. The detective could not confidently state whether one or other occupants actually turned the wheel, sending the vehicle off the roadway and toward the brick building. So you guys remember, if you watched the documentary, or if you followed the coverage, the computer, the black box that I was explaining is in the car, that showed that the wheel was turned at one point. And this appeal is saying, this effort to get an appeal, they're saying that that the detective couldn't confidently state whether one or of the other occupants actually turned the wheel. So there's still questions there. This is interesting. The juvenile court ultimately held that the state failed to establish probable cause to support the aggravated murder charges, meaning the court rejected the state's theory that the July 17th incident constituted prior calculation and design. So they're saying that she was only 17, that it first went to juvenile court, and that they failed to establish probable cause. But that changed when it got into an adult court. So that's something that they brought up in this effort to get an
so
appeal.
basically, they're trying to say that she should have never been tried. That's an issue. Because when you have to establish probable cause and you can't do that, that's a problem.
Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out my documented 34 verified incidents worldwide throughout the first 4 months of this year. And researchers estimate that losses have already exceeded $100 million. There's this one recent report, it's basically several different attacks that happened in California that all appeared to be linked together, and they involve criminals posing as...
Oh, the wrong case.
In controlled manner using her term.
That involved a cell phone that Dominic had used a week or two prior before this incident to record a very heated, tumultuous argument between himself and Mackenzie. These recordings were left on the cell phone, we believe, and recorded by Dominic.
All right, so yeah, I look a little different. It was 3 years ago. I think mainly just my hair was shorter. But with the appeal process, it gets complicated with the appeal process. I'm going to go through all the reasons that Mackenzie get a credit alert. I've had several families. If you see a website with your personal info, you put it into Incogni's custom removal feature, and one of Incogni's privacy agents will take care of the rest for you. So to check it all out, go to incogni.com/BRIANPKNOWNSBEST. And they basically go on to say that there's evidence that the attorney, who was her attorney during the trial, did not tell the court about, that proves that they were in love, and that there wasn't this big, this big fight and animosity leading up to the crash, which is what the prosecution has said. Hey guys, I want to introduce you to the sponsor of today's episode, Incogni, identity theft and removal service.com/BrianEnton. Fair trial under both the United States and Ohio Constitution. So what's that? It sounds kind of technical. What it means is they are saying her lawyer did a bad job and did not fairly represent her, and that's the reason she should get a new trial. Trial counsel was ineffective by failing to conduct an adequate, independent investigation to support the defense's theory of the case. The counsel did not introduce any competing scientific evidence to refute the state's findings and conclusions. Moreover, he largely limited his cross-examination of the state's experts to issues of whether any accelerants had been found in the clothing, and to chain of custody for certain evidence collected at the scene. So they're saying that the lawyer didn't do a good enough job, and that she should get a new trial for that reason, that he didn't even bring any of his own experts on some of these issues. Despite having knowledge and evidence concerning Cheryl's
why lawyers gotta
POTS
fuck up
diagnosis,
sometimes?
that's the medical condition she claims that may have caused her to black out and crash the car without.
What, you mean
knowing.
vertigo?
They are saying she obviously has new attorneys who filed this. The attorney McDonald, who is the attorney she had during the trial, failed to undertake any efforts to substantiate the theory that the accident was caused by a medical issue, including consulting with a medical expert and/or presenting testimony to that effect. In fact, Attorney McDonald failed to introduce medical records substantiating that Shirley had in fact been diagnosed with POTS. So saying that he did not do a good enough job to talk about the medical condition that she had. Trial counsel knew that Sharilla was predisposed to experiencing seizures or loss of consciousness as a result of her POTS condition. Moreover, trial counsel had copies of Sharilla's medical records confirming her POTS diagnosis. Despite the significance of said evidence to the defense's theory of the case, trial counsel never attempted to present evidence regarding Sharilla's documented medical condition. So again, saying lawyer did a bad job, didn't provide these documents to the court, didn't get any experts of his own. Remember, there was a jury, there was no jury. This was a trial where the judge made the decision, which Mark Eiglarsh is going to talk a little more about in a second, but that may come into play when it comes to why there weren't more experts used. Prior to trial, Sharilla's family provided Attorney McDonald with copies of text messages that had been extracted from Sharilla's phone, which I'm going to read to you in a second. A review of these messages confirms that there were communications between Sharilla, Dominic, and Dominic's mother, Christine, concerning the July 17, 2022 incident. This is an incident that happened before the crash. For instance, messages extracted from Sharilla's phone show that she sent a message to Christine on July 17th stating, can you come get Dom? He just grabbed my steering wheel on the highway trying to spin my car and hurt me. And what they're saying here is that these text messages were not portrayed properly during the trial. And what they say these text messages show is that it was actually the boyfriend who tried to crash the car in that previous date, not Mackenzie. Whether that's true, we don't know. I mean, she may have been lying in all of these text messages. Let me read you the messages though, because they're in the actual messages. Copies of them are in this filing. This is between Mackenzie and Dominic's mom. Mackenzie writes, can you come get Dom? He just grabbed my steering wheel on the highway trying to spin out my car and hurt me. I'm scared to drive because it's raining, so I just need him to get picked up. If he doesn't get out of my car, I'm calling my dad, so please tell him to get out. And then the mom responds, Hench is on his way, calm down for now, please. And then she writes, TBH, I can't calm down when he just tried to end my life, then he lied to you about it. And she wrote, I'm just trying to diffuse for now, I'm not mad at anyone. And she writes, I don't think he's capable of that when he keeps telling me to shut up and to duct tape my mouth. I do not feel safe. He's also threatening to blackmail me to my mom. He's not getting out. He also blocked me, so I can't go pick up any of my belongings at his house. I hope this is a learning experience for him and what not to do with women, because I really don't think he knows how to treat them at all. And then she wrote, stop the fighting and stop lying. So it's possible, we don't know what really happened here. I mean, it was just the two of them, but she could just be typing this stuff and it's not even true. But the mom says, stop the lying. When he gets his things, you can get yours. Then she writes, first of all, I am not lying about anything. Maybe you shouldn't take his word so seriously. You don't know how he treats me behind closed doors. It's never okay to try to end somebody's life and put their hands on people. Again, whether he really did that, we don't know. She writes back, no one should touch anyone, no fighting for sure in the car. He never put his hands on you. That's the mom. And then she writes back, Mackenzie writes back, you need to tell him that. He tried to end my life today and told me, do you want to die? I almost hit the wall and I could have died. And then she writes back, and you haven't blackmailed him with the cops 100 times? Mackenzie writes, LOL, clearly you don't care about the situation. I should have known you would have taken his side. He could literally kill me and you would still believe him over me. Both of my purses need to be outside within 10 minutes because I'm coming to get them. My dad is coming to get my purses. And then she wrote, I'm not arguing. Mackenzie responds, as long as you're defending his actions, he's never going to learn that this is wrong. But the main part that the appeal is concerned with is when she writes, can you come get Dom? He just grabbed my steering wheel on the highway trying to spin my car out and hurt me. Again, whether that's true, we don't know. She may have just written that, and that may not be what happened.
But we don't know. He's not alive. He can't defend himself.
Been brought into evidence during the trial in a different way. The question here, though, really, the central question, I think, to whether she should get an appeal right now, or whether she should even be reviewed, I should say, is this deadline. She missed the deadline by 1 day. She has new lawyers who filed the appeal. So when I say she missed the deadline, it's not technically her fault. So should she, put all this aside, should she be punished because her lawyers missed the deadline by 1 day? That's something that the Ohio State Supreme Court's gonna have to figure out now. And just to kind of dive into this a little deeper, I want to talk with attorney Mark Eiglarsh. Hey, Mark, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. First of all, I want to wish you a happy birthday. And I know you're in a rush to get to pickleball, so I'll try to get this going quickly. Well, a lot of people are talking about this case with Mackenzie because this new documentary that's out on Netflix, and I was digging into her appeals. It seems like one of the main arguments is she's saying her lawyer didn't do a good job, that he didn't present witnesses relevant to
Ineffective
her
of
medical
counsel.
condition, that there are text messages that he left out in the context of those text messages. What do you make of that argument?
I think that probably won't go anywhere. Most of the time it doesn't. It's a common argument that defendants make. They go after their attorneys. The stronger argument is that she's not even eligible for an appeal at this point because they missed the cutoff by 1 day. When I say they, the defendant didn't miss it, her attorney did. And I think her greatest argument is that they rendered ineffective assistance of counsel. By that I mean they, her defense team, by not getting the appeal notice filed during the appropriate time period.
So not only would she be going after her lawyer she had during the trial, but you're saying she should now go after her lawyer that was working on the appeal for missing the deadline.
Well, of course, I am no fan of this young lady's at all. I think that the judge got it right. I think there's proof beyond a reasonable doubt. I am not a fan of hers, but I am a huge fan of due process. And to miss the cutoff by a day, listen, she doesn't know how to file these things. She relies upon an attorney to do so. And because a leap year or whatever they're claiming was the reason why he missed it by 1 day, the appellate court at some point should say, okay, fine, we'll make an exception, or find that the attorney rendered ineffective assistance of counsel in violation of the famous case Strickland versus Washington. He didn't do his job. And as a result, she had to pay, and that's not fair.
So the Supreme Court could actually say, because the lawyers missed it by a day, we're going to give you another shot?
The appellate courts should say that she didn't have effective assistance of counsel, and as a result, a new lawyer can go in and properly file this thing, and then she gets to have this heard. Yes, I believe that that's fundamental fairness. And then let it be heard, and then they can deny her appeal on the merits because her attorney did the best job he could with what he had.
Something else that other people don't realize is that the initial trial she had was a judge trial. There was
Correct.
no jury. Is that common?
Very uncommon. It's called a bench trial, and I can't, in 33 years of doing this, I don't think I've ever done one. I don't know unless the judge signals to me, like, you know, just bring it in front of me. And I don't know that the judge would ever do something like that. So then I'd always have a doubt. I'd rather put 6 or 12 in the box and be more comfortable with people who can have an open mind, who aren't politically motivated, because most judges have to face re-election unless you're talking about the federal system. So it is extremely rare. But I didn't disagree with his decision. I think a jury would have convicted her very easily. The argument was an intellectual kind of a very focused argument to say that there's just no evidence of the main charge, but judge, you can find her guilty of something less than that because there's no purposeful, it wasn't intentional. And the judge rejected that, like I knew that the jury would.
Yeah, and the judge, what was interesting with her is she, which I guess I hadn't just seen a judge trial like this, but she could ask questions throughout, and even like during the sentencing, when the family members of Mackenzie were speaking, saying, oh, you should give her, you know, less of a sentence, whatever, she would like interrupt them and like
Right.
comments and ask questions, which I didn't know that was a thing.
Well, two things. One, sentencing, anything goes. I mean, the judge can interrupt, people can do whatever. That's not anything. It's the trial itself. And usually jurors aren't asking questions and interrupting. That's one of the perils of a bench trial. A judge can jump in and say, wait, I have a question, or wait, point of clarification, or whatever. Judges can do that.
What do you make of the case in general? You know, the fact that she, according to the detectives, you know, had her foot down all the way on the gas pedal for the full 5 seconds before they slammed into the wall, was going 100 miles per hour, no issue with the car. You know, they have like a black box they can see.
100 miles an hour is an issue.
Gas pedal all the way down.
All of what you just said would have gotten me just below proof beyond a reasonable doubt. I don't know that personally or legally I would think that that's enough. What got me to proof beyond a reasonable doubt, one thing that wasn't even in the documentary that I found in another documentary, was when they first went in to interview her while she's in the hospital. She then says to the detective in a recorded conversation, "Can I speak to my mom for a second?" And then in some pig Latin language, it wasn't actually pig Latin, but some version of it, you hear her going, "Anle longi longi boing boing," talking to her mother like that.
Yeah.
And what it was translated to was, "Could we just tell him, let's just tell him that I had a seizure or that I passed out," or something like that. She also offered her license for 10 years. Can I just give my license for 10 years? Someone who isn't responsible for this tragic crime wouldn't say something like that. That got me over the hump, and the fact that the road was curved, and that if she had passed out, she wouldn't have been able to negotiate all the way on that road where she was going up to 100 miles an hour and then slams into the brick building.
Her argument, which I read or in the appeal, that the lawyer, what is ineffective use of counsel, is that what the legal term is?
Ineffective assistance of counsel, which is required under the Strickland case by the Supreme
They're
Court.
claiming, that the lawyer didn't even present any experts to discuss her medical condition. That does seem strange, doesn't it? I'm just thinking from the trials I've covered, there's always experts when someone has a medical condition.
Yes, my guess is they could have found someone, but he would have came into court and he would have had a big flower, big red shiny shoes, and he would have had a big red nose, and the flower would shoot water on the judge if he's going to say, she wasn't responsible. No one could say that. No one in this instance, based upon the facts, could credibly say that in front of a professional judge. Do you understand? We are constantly being Monday morning quarterbacked, trial lawyers are. Oh, we could have done this, we should have done this. But you know what? You make judgment calls, and that doesn't mean it's ineffective assistance of counsel.
Yeah, that's interesting what you say. I guess I was thinking of it through the lens of a jury, because you see these experts try to convince a jury, but it's a different vibe with the judge. If you've got some kind of Looney Tune expert, the judge she's gonna see right through it.
Still, any rookie cross-examiner could question an expert and say, "Okay, you have no idea if that's what caused this thing. No, you're correct. All you know is what they've told you." Yeah, that's correct. "You've never treated her?" "No, I didn't." "You didn't?" I mean, the cross-examination, that person would be eviscerated.
Yeah, I can do
First
that.
of all, because it's not true. She didn't suffer from the passing out during the time period. That didn't happen. But if you put an expert up there, they would talk in theory about how, which I think the judge accepted, how that particular condition that the mother claimed she had could happen at some point. Okay, great. It didn't happen in that instance, though, and I don't think anybody could tell the judge otherwise.
Do you think the sentence was fair? It was like 2 15-year sentences.
I don't think it was unfair. I was surprised the judge didn't do the life with 30, right? That's what the victims wanted. It's in the judge's discretion. I didn't hear from everybody who testified. She still could be in there for life. Doesn't mean she's getting out in 15, just means that's when she'll do a minimum of 15, then start being eligible for parole. I don't know that a parole board is going to let her out after that period of time. She very well may be spending decades in there.
Do you think there's any chance she gets another trial?
It's like Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance? Yeah, there's always a chance.
There's always a chance.
Remote, based upon what I saw. That attorney did a fine job. He zealously cross-examined witnesses. He presented testimony the way that he thought was appropriate. And she came in second place. That happens. That's the nature of trial work. It doesn't mean he didn't do a good job and she didn't get a fair trial. She did, and I don't think that the guilty verdict will be disturbed.
What you brought up, by the way, I saw the same thing you're talking about, where it is really strange, like she's talking to the mom in another language. It's so strange.
Why didn't they put that in the documentary, Brian?
I don't know.
Tell me why?
I don't know.
Why, if you're really looking for a fair and balanced documentary, why did you leave that out? That's huge.
Yeah. And it's I mean, from a documentary standpoint too, it's like kind of good TV. It's bizarre. You're kind of like, what the heck is going on here?
It made me think, what else did they leave out? And it's probably in their best interest to keep it like debatable. Is she guilty? Is she not? If you really just lay it all out and it's so clear, maybe we don't talk about it as much.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if her verdict is overturned, just like Alec Murdaugh.
They wanted to. I don't like that. That should have been in the documentary.
And just lastly, what about the fact that she was 17? This started out in the juvenile court and then got moved to adult court. And it sounded like when it was in the juvenile stage, they didn't think there was enough evidence for like a murder charge. Do you think that comes into play?
No, it doesn't. I think that when you're 17, you're right up there, right under adulthood. And I could have told you right away, they're moving that to adulthood. They're always free if they feel like it's too unfair to give someone adult sanctions. Prosecutors can bring you in the adult system and then give you juvenile sanctions if it's appropriate. It clearly wasn't in this instance. And what she could have gotten under the juvenile system would have been a slap on the wrist and inappropriate.
I mean, how fair, you know, the relationship goes back years. There's all sorts of text messages. How?
We're talking, damn it. We're talking about the crash. Sean B. Let me see. Sorry, guys. I think something. Oh, they came. They talking about the Anna, the cruise. Look.
Cruise ship girl, teen, Anna Kettner's dad.
Yo, what the hell? I didn't even press nothing. Yeah, my computer's glitching, guys. Sorry.
Says, I found her cold, naked body stuffed under a bunk.
Wow. I'm gonna have to restart this laptop, guys. Give me a second. Who's still here? I know it's Wild Dog and Sean B. Who else? Okay. No, I'm still here. Yo, what the hell? Yeah, I'm about to end this live stream. Guys, thank you for joining me, guys. Take care, guys. Thank you for joining me. John B. I'm out. Drink some water. Echo, what's the weather?
It's 67 degrees and fair right now. Today's high will be 77 degrees with partly cloudy skies, and tonight's low will be 62 degrees.
Any rain?
No rain currently, but there's a 15% chance tonight and 24% tomorrow.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining me. I'll take care. Bye. Bye, guys. Bye, Sean B. Bye, Waldo. Thank you for joining me. Bye.